Everyone, and thank you for coming to Read On. This is the 68th show, if I'm not mistaken. See, I actually have to go look it up because I'm not sure. Yes, it's the 68th show, so I got that right. So we've been going for almost a year. Woohoo! Today we have the largest selection of authors that I have ever had on the show. And it is over the course of 5 books that I am grabbing right now. So today we have authors Justina Chen of A Blind Spot for Boys, as well as Lorie Ann Grover, the author of it. Oh, and we've got Mary! Yay!
Close out the
it
other
worked! Woohoo!
one right now, right? But I don't know bottom, but whatever.
Then we also have author Lindsay Cummings coming on for The Balance Keepers, which is, it's a middle grade title, right?
Yes, it's a, first in a trilogy.
And I have a special surprise because I still have a copy of The Murder Complex that's signed from the other read on that you were at, that came back to me twice.
Oh my gosh.
So they get to win that too.
Yay!
That book was awesome. As well as Mary and Madeline of Dream Boy. Ooh. I love this cover. Everybody says they love that cover. And last but not least, Michelle Matto. It's Matto, right?
Matto, like Shadow Matto.
Matto, okay.
There you go.
This is book 2. I have book 1. Where'd it go? Oh, here's book 1 of Diamonds in the Rough and The Secret Diamond Sisters. Okay, so we will get started, and everybody can come on and tell us a little bit about your book, and we will start out with Justina Chen.
I think I want the applause track to follow me wherever I go in life.
I need a margarita.
I know, exactly. So, A Blind Spot for Boys. I was talking to my agent one day, and we were just laughing because he asked me what I wanted to work on for my next book, and I told him, well, I'm really not sure, but, I'm still kind of pondering the 13 proms I went to, and he started laughing at me. He's like, 13 proms? Are you kidding me? So he said, that is actually your next book, and I thought to myself, but that sounds like a horror book, So instead, what I wanted to do was write about a girl who's had a devastating breakup. She's got all these guys who are after her. Her dad's a pest control guy, and unbeknownst to even herself, she's been using pest control techniques to keep the guys away. And then they find out that her dad is actually going blind. And the mom says, hey, let's take all our retirement money and go travel the world, see the world while you can. And so while her dad is losing his sight, the girl is gaining so much insight into herself, what she really wants to do with her life, and why she keeps picking the bad boys.
That's good. That's good. So I am Lorie Ann. Actually, Justina and I are in the same house, which is pretty fun. Hello. Hit is my next book. It just came out a few weeks ago. In 2004, my daughter's best friend was walking to school. She was under the light in a crosswalk, and she was hit by a truck. And my daughter and I were able to be close to that experience and be in the hospital and witness it. She had brain surgery. It was just devastating. And so a few years passed, and I asked for permission to write that story, and they gave it to me. And so that is what Hit is. I added, to pump it up a little bit more, she's crushing on a grad student from UW. And she leaves the house that morning with a poem in her pocket to say how she really feels to him. He, at the same time, is leaving Starbucks. And he's driving along, and he's thinking, I'm going to tell her nothing can happen between us. She shouldn't change schools next year. She should take her scholarship and not go to UW with me. So he's determined to tell her this. She steps into the crosswalk, and he's the one that hits her. So that is kind of a quick synopsis of Hit.
Wow, that That's crazy. Am I next?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure I'm not like jumping in someone's place. I'm Lindsay Cummings. I'm the author of the Balance Keepers trilogy. Book 1 came out last month, and it is sort of like a mashup of Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Journey to the Center of the Earth, in a school where kids go to school in the core of the Earth, and from there they access these hidden secret realms where if they don't keep the realms in balance, then the surface Earth above kind of freaks out and becomes really dangerous. So it's really fun. There's a trio of kids and a dog with glowing eyes and magical powers, and it's kind of steampunkish a little bit, and it's been so much fun for me. And then I'm also the author of The Murder Complex, which Jessica said she has an extra copy of that, I guess. And that is a YA set in the world where the murder rate is higher than the birth rate, and people have to be fearless to survive. So that's me.
Oh.
Wow.
And she's
So who was next?
Am I next?
I think so.
Okay. So I am the co-author with my friend Mary Crockett. Hi, Mary.
It's upside down.
Of the book Dream Boy, which is upside down, and now is right. Our lives have been sort of upside down since the book came out. It came out in July. It's about a girl named Annabelle Manning who has a very powerful sleeping life, and so she dreams about this guy repeatedly, and then one day, lo and behold, he walks into her chemistry class. So it's about meeting him, it's about dreams, it's about nightmares, it's about, the people who are with you in the real world, and it's a lot about what's real and what isn't, and Mary can tell you more when it's her turn.
Ooh, that's nice. That's
Is it my turn?
I think so. Michelle's next.
Okay, so hi, I'm Mary. Can you guys see me? Hello.
Yeah.
Is my camera working?
yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'm Mary, and as Madeline said, I co-wrote Dream Boy with her. This is not Madeline's first novel, but it's my first novel, so it was kind of an exciting experience to have it come out this summer for me. And like Madeline said, it's kind of about dreams and reality and all that. It has a little bit of horror, a little bit of romance, some kind of Southern Gothic mythology and folklore kind of thrown in. But mainly, it's just it's a fun book with a lot of kind of, to me, interesting characters who maybe what I liked about it, the speaker gets to kind of the way she sees characters at the beginning, different people in her life, over a week's time of kind of having a little bit more exposure to them, she sees them differently by the end and is able to kind of see herself differently a little bit as well, too.
All right, my turn? Am I up?
Yep.
All right. I'm Michelle. I'm the author of The Secret Diamond Sisters, and the follow-up of, it's going to be a trilogy, but the second book, Diamonds in the Rough, just came out on Tuesday, so I'm super excited for all of that. The Secret Diamond Sisters is about 3 sisters who grew up in a very poor town who suddenly find out that they are long-lost heiresses of a Las Vegas billionaire hotel owner. So they get whisked away to this gorgeous penthouse hotel in Las Vegas that their dad owns, and they meet all these new people, all these guys, all these new frenemies, and they have tons of drama. It's kind of like Gossip Girl or Pretty Little Liars meets The Princess Diaries, but set in Las Vegas. And it was actually inspired by my all-time favorite hotel in Las Vegas. I've been to Vegas pretty much every year since I was 15 years old, and I was walking around this gorgeous hotel called The Wynn, and I just thought, what would it be like to live here? And from there, this entire idea popped into my head about these 3 sisters who end up actually living in this hotel, and it's just so much fun to write about. They change so much throughout the series of the books. So many secrets are revealed in part 2, Diamonds in the Rough, so it gets a lot more intense. And I just have had a blast with it. It's my first traditionally published novel, and it's great to see my books on the bookshelves when I go to the stores and everything.
Yeah, totally.
You have to do a shout out to Erin from Jump Into Books because she's in the back of that one.
Yeah, all my street team members, they're all like in my acknowledgments. So that was fun.
Awesome.
That's really
Cool.
sweet.
Okay, so we're going to start it on the questions. And if you have a question, if you can't ask it via the little ask a question thing, you can toss it over onto the event page as well, or on YouTube. It will alert me one way or the other. Okay, so our first question is actually for Lindsay. So let me pop Lindsay back up here. And it says, how far apart did you write The Murder Complex, which I found? And the fires, is it called Calderon?
Yes.
Woohoo! I pronounced it correctly. How far apart did you write them, and was it hard switching it up?
Yeah, it was super hard. So I wrote The Murder Complex when I was 18 or 19, and I wrote Balance Keepers last year. So it was like 3 years apart. But I'd only ever worked on young adult stuff, like really dark YA, until I wrote Balance Keepers, which is like fun, fantastical middle grade. And so it's like polar opposites. And I had to learn that there are certain things in middle grade that you cannot say and do. Yeah, that was a little tough for me at first. And it's also in third person versus Murder Complex was in first person. So it took me a while to kind of make that switch. But I feel like it was one of the best things I could have done for my writing career because, one, kids are so awesome and they're so fun to write for. And two, middle grade is actually kind of hard. So I don't know. It was good. I feel like it was good for me to do that. But, yeah, the switch was not easy, definitely.
Okay. The next question is, we will start at the beginning. Who is your biggest fan? Justina?
My biggest fan?
Who's your biggest fan?
Oh, you know what? I would say it's a toss-up between my mom and my kids. My mom is so, I think she's, my mom is, she's this little spitfire, and she is so proud of me. She would sit in the front of every audience and, be the biggest cheerleader. But my daughter is such a good first reader of any manuscript. She's read a bunch of manuscripts for a number of published authors. So actually, if any of you ladies want a first reader, she is fantastic. She's super insightful, and she's always like, teen girls would never say that. Yeah. They would never do that. That's so inconsistent, And so it's really, it's a treat to have her read.
Right. I'd say that my biggest fan has to be my mom as well. I mean, I can't post anything on Facebook without her liking it and putting a smiley face and a heart. So I'd have to say also that it's my mom.
Lindsay?
I actually have this little duo of girls. Their names are Iman and Jenna, if they're watching, I don't know. But they go to the same high school now that I graduated from in 2009.
Wow.
They come to all my events and signings, and if they can't come, they send their grandmothers and their moms.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's adorable.
So cute. They made little T-shirts and sent me fan mail, even though I talk to them all the time. So it's just been fun. They're cute, and my mom is also a big fan. I feel like that's just something that moms have to be as a fan.
Madeline?
So my mom is not on Facebook, so she would not be liking any of my Facebook things. We have a lot of friends that have been super supportive over the years, but I think I'm going to go with my kids because, like Justina, they're my first readers for everything. And I always hear, all these stories about, oh, my husband is my best editor. And I love my husband very much, but he is not my best editor. My kids have been really good, and they're the same thing. They will catch things in the 11th hour. And that's actually one of the things I think is really empowering, too, that you can be, 12 years old or 10 years old and still your voice and your editorial content and what you can offer is a lot.
Yeah.
Mary?
Yeah, I would agree that it's kind of like the family above and below. My mother passed, and one of the sad things for me was, she was with me through all of the writing of Dream Boy, but she never got to hear that it actually got published and everything like that. And I know like you guys were saying, she was always, if I wrote poetry before I wrote fiction, tried fiction, and anytime I gave a poetry reading or anything, she would just be like in the audience, and I'd try not to look at her, but other people would say, I was looking at your mom, and she just was like glowing through the whole, through the whole of it. So yeah, I'd say she was my biggest fan, and now that she's gone, my daughter really, she's a great supporter and great reader and just a sweetheart. Whenever I have an idea for something, I'll run it by her and say, what do you think of this? And she'll be like, yeah, I think it has potential. Or she's a sweetie. And she's right at our kind of target age. She's 14, so and a very advanced reader. So she's, kind of my ideal audience too.
And the voice on our trailer too.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh, no.
I made her run through the woods when we did our trailer, because we just did our own trailer, and I had her like running through the woods, like in the cold. There was like snow on the ground. I was like, you have to take your shoes off. The girl's bare. Are you kidding me? She's like very devoted, she's hardcore, when it comes to things. She'll get the job done.
That's awesome. Michelle?
Definitely my family is my biggest supporters. My mom helps me with so much when it comes to writing. I'm more of the creative type, so she helps me with a lot of the details when it comes to traveling and events and helping with all that. My dad's amazingly supportive. My brother tells all of his friends all about my books. He goes to the bookstore and takes pictures with my books when he finds them, and he tells everyone possible about everything I do. So he's super proud of me. My grandparents are amazingly supportive, and I have two best friends. I don't know if they're watching, Caitlin and Tiffany, who are the best friends I could ever ask for, and they were my cheerleaders when I first started writing, and they kind of just told me that I could do it, and they read chapter after chapter, all unedited, and just told me it was great, even though it really wasn't, because it was a first draft, and they've supported since the beginning.
Okay, the next question is, it's actually for Michelle. How hard was it going from being an indie author to being published with Harlequin Teen?
I actually don't think it was hard at all. It was probably a lot easier because I had the experience of, for those who don't know, I self-published my first trilogy, which is the Transcend Time Saga. It's Remembrance, Vengeance, and Timeless, before I went on to be published with Secret Diamond Sisters with Harlequin Teen. And it just sort of got me, I guess, accustomed into the world of being out there as an author and knowing that people are going to critique your books, they're going to review them, not everyone's going to like it, and I got experience with speaking at schools. So I just think it was added experience that made everything a lot easier of a transition once I moved on to being traditionally published.
Okay, the next one is for Madeline and Mary. How hard was it co-writing a book?
We always tell people that the writing part was actually easy because one of us would start, and when one petered out, the other person would pick it up. But the editing was excruciating because at that point, we both had to sign off on everything. And so it was in the editing phase that, if there were arguments, the arguments happened. And when in the writing phase, there were kind of fun arguments. Like Mary would do something to the character, and then I get online and I'd be like, "What? She did not do that." Delete, 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 and then add something else. But when we got to
you guys aren't in the same state, then, are you?
We are in the same state.
Oh, you are. Okay, you're in the same state. Okay.
From each other.
Oh, okay.
Mary, do you have anything to?
I would just say, I thought the writing, more than hard, I thought it was fun, just because, it's so lonely as a writer, and you're out there, kind of doing your own thing, shouting into the void, and to have somebody who's there with you, side by side, kind of going forth and trying things out, and it's also, it was really helpful shaping the book, because we didn't have a lot of a set direction. We didn't outline chapters or anything like that. We had a sense of a story arc we wanted to tell. We had some ideas of the kinds of things, themes we wanted to explore, but we didn't have so much of, chapter 1, this will happen, chapter 2, this will happen. So as we were finding our way to kind of, there's always that point where you feel like you're on the edge of the earth and you're looking over this great void, and way over there is land, and you're like, how do I get to that? How do I get to that side? And to be able to kind of shoot it off in an email and say, Madeline, you take the next step because I'm kind of lost. It was just really fun and helpful.
The next question is for everybody, and we'll start with Justina. And what do you hope readers gain from reading your books?
Oh, that's such a good question. Whoever asked that, thank you. For my books, I've written 5 novels. From North of Beautiful to A Blind Spot for Boys to Return to Me. And all of these books are actually about coming of age and claiming your identity and becoming the woman that you were really created to be. And so when girls read my books, I want them to come away with, whether they're reading North of Beautiful and saying, I can look in a mirror and feel beautiful. Or they could read Blind Spot for Boys and they could say, you know what, this is really what I want to do with my life, and then go for it. So really empowerment.
I would say that a common theme is hope, that despite everything that's going on, if we look, there's hope. And so in HIT particularly, this horrible hardship happens, and how do we then look at that tragedy and find like sweet red seeds that encourage us to go forward? And so that's what I hope my books do, each and every one, that they become sweet red seeds to help somebody else along. And actually, Justina and I are on the road for HIT with Gratitude. And this is what we're talking about, how to stand back up and find hope when difficult things happen.
Cool.
Lindsay?
For me, the reason I started writing was because I have chronic fatigue. And so for me, a lot of my characters, and I do this without realizing that it's happening, is that a lot of my characters deal with, just trying to find ways to be strong when there really seems to be no way to be strong. So I hope that readers will kind of take away a sense of fearlessness and bravery from both of my books, and know that they can kind of go against all odds and still, be the best them that they can be.
Madeline?
So my other books are middle grades. I have 2 middle grades and some picture books, and a lot of them explore friendships and explore siblings, and so some of what I want people to take away is that. But with Dream Boy, and then also with Nanny X and with Canary in the Coal Mine, which are my middle grades, there's sort of, I guess, a theme of I can do this, I can save myself, I can make things better, I can save the world. And so I guess that's one thing I'd like people to take away, is that, they can too.
Mary?
Yeah, I would echo that sentiment of the can-do spirit, the kind of, facing something that you think is too big for you or too much for you, and just kind of realizing that at that moment you've got to do it anyway, and you can come through it, and you can kind of be all right at the end. Even though, Dream Boy's it's a fun book. I also hope that people, just enjoy reading, have a good time with it, that they want to stay up and flip to the next page and find out what happened, and that it can give them kind of a I think there's a real place in reading for just the release, the emotional release of imagining you're someone else, pretending you're in another place and something else is happening, and kind of going along with a character for that ride. I think that's really of value. I teach writing and literature and that kind of thing, and that's always something that I'm amazed, and feel really blessed with when in the classroom, being able to read great books and and just kind of see how students kind of become those people. You are Jane Eyre for a moment, or you are Elizabeth Bennet, or what have you, and you can really be there with them, for this journey. And as much as anything, I hope readers of Dream Boy, kind of go with Annabelle and take that journey.
Michelle?
All right. I mean, the first thing I want people to do when they read my book is to have fun and be entertained. I mean, look at my covers. It's pink. It's sparkly. The interiors, I promise you, they're pink and sparkly also. Like, this is a fun book. But there's definitely more to it. I mean, there's more than meets the eye. It's a great, gossipy, energetic, fun book. But it also has a lot about people who judge people before they really should. The teens are normal teens. They make mistakes. They give into peer pressure. They fall for people they shouldn't. Like, they mess up. And I think that that's what happens in real life. And I wanted to reflect real life within these books. So I hope that, especially as it progresses into Diamonds in the Rough, people see that the initial impressions that you might have had of the people in book one aren't always correct, and there's going to be more than like there is to meet the eye with a lot of these characters. So I hope that people learn to just give people more of a chance and learn from their mistakes, and of course have fun. Like, definitely have fun while you read these books.
The next question is for Lorie. Are we ever going to get a book 2 to Firstborn?
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
I would know the answer to that question.
I've never had 2 books launch in 1 year, and so that's what's happened. So it takes a lot of energy and time to launch a book. So my focus has been hit for about 2 or 3 months. When I have windows, I am writing. I have a synopsis for Secondborn and Thirdborn, and about 20 pages written. So I'm trying.
Write faster.
Right faster.
I was so sad when I finished that book and it didn't state that it was a series. I was like in tears.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Okay, the next question is, let's see, what inspired you to write your first book? Justina?
Oh, okay. So my debut novel was Nothing But the Truth and a Few White Lies, and it's about a girl who is mixed race. I have mixed race kids, and we were out at the children's theater, and these teens surrounded us, and they totally mocked us in pseudo-Chinese. Huang twing wang, and they were totally mocking us. And my little girl looked up at me and she's like, "What language are they speaking, Mom?" And I looked at her and I said, "Stupidese." But I realized then that my kids, even though they were half white, they were going to face a lot of the same racism that I have encountered as an all-Asian woman. So I wrote a love letter to my kids in the form of a novel to tell them, basically, you know what, you don't let other people label you. You just do not let other people label you. And you claim your whole heritage. You're half Asian, but you're all American. And you just claim it for yourself. So it's a love letter.
For me, my first book was Loose Threads, and it's about my grandmother's breast cancer. And like Mary, I'm a poet, and that's where my story comes from. And my editor found my work, and it was in the form of a picture book at the time. And she said, "I don't think this is a picture book. I think it's a novel." And it was like Christmas time, and I didn't want to write an entire novel. I had 32 pages, and that was plenty. But she really encouraged me, and her name is Emma Dryden, and she was amazing, and she held my hand, and she told me, "Now it's time to name your main character, Lorie." So my first 3 novels are written in verse, and they are all like 80% true from my own life. I feel like when people pick those up, they're almost looking at my journal. So yeah, that's where it came from. That was my first book, and I didn't stop. I just kept going.
That's cool.
Lindsay?
My first book mine was The Complex, and it was kind of half from a news article that I read about this small town where all these murders happened in like a short span of time, and I thought, oh, that'd be super cool to do it in like a futuristic sense. And then the other half would have been kind of going through my health journey and feeling so sick and just kind of stuck inside myself, and so I put these characters in this world where they were surrounded by a titanium wall and there was death all around them and they couldn't get out. It was kind of half of me trying to become strong personally as I wrote this book, and then half from a weird news article that I found like years ago when they still did newspapers, like that they said.
Madeline, sorry.
Okay, so my first book that was published is a picture book called The Schmutzy Family, and it's about a very, very messy, messy family that the idea is to figure out if they're going to clean up in time for Shabbat, which is at the end of the week. And that came because I am a slob in my family. The messiest one in my family is not my children. The messiest one in my family is me. The first book I ever sold was way before that, and it actually just came out in September, and that's also a picture book called How to Behave at a Tea Party, and it's about a super type A girl who is trying to throw a tea party, and her little brother who has an incredibly different idea about what behavior should mean. And that kind of came from my type A self, but also from watching my kids, because we tried, like when we raised them, we tried not to do the whole gender stereotype thing or anything like that. But at the same time, you know, if you put 3 shovels out, my son would say, 3 shovels, pow, 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 pow. And my daughter would say, oh, it's a mom shovel, and a daddy shovel, and a baby shovel. Or they would play Barbies together or something like that. My daughter would convince my son, let's play Barbies. And my son would be like, look out, Barbie, it's a bomb! And the poor ice cream shop would just end up, you know, poor Barbie, her ice cream shop was just exploded. So it was kind of playing with that a little bit too.
So I guess my first book was a book of poetry, and it was really for adults. It's not kid lit or anything like that. And it just grew out of, you know, writing and writing and writing and writing and having all these poems and being going like, you know, I think this is be a manuscript now. So, I mean, no kind of big Genesis story, just kind of the urge that bit by bit writing. But, you know, writing, kind of trying fiction was a little bit daunting for me as a poet. You know, I was kind of not sure, you know, it's so long, there are so many words, you have to keep going page after page, you know. So 2 things kind of helped with that. One, writing with Madeline and having her, you know, kind of, like I said, kind of take that next step when I was kind of confused or lost or what have you. But really the idea just came to try to write something that, you know, that was fun and entertaining and interesting and would be fun to write and fun to read, and not make such a huge deal of it that it was something I couldn't do or something that was too scary. Working on Dream Boy kind of came out of that. And then also I stayed up really late one night, and I was watching one of those classic movie channels, and I have a little bit of insomnia sometimes, and anyway, so there was a show on that I couldn't quite remember. I think there was a Ginger Rogers movies, and I was confused. Like, there seemed to be somebody coming from her dream, or maybe not, or whatever. And so kind of when I woke up, I was like, what happened in that movie? And I was like, you know, it would be really cool to write something about somebody coming from a dream, because dreams seem so powerful, and it's such a big presence in my life, just that world. Sometimes I feel like I'm more in the dream world than in the real world, and I just thought it'd be fun to explore.
Wow.
All right. My first book was Remembrance, and that's the first book of the Transcend Time saga. It's about a girl who has been reincarnated from 1815 England, but doesn't realize it until her soulmate transfers into her high school and triggers her memories come back to her. And this book was actually inspired for me. I saw Taylor Swift's Love Story music video, and I watched the entire music video, and I just thought, wow, like, this would be a great story about reincarnation and true love. And I turned to my best friend, and I was watching the video with her at the time, and I told her about this whole book idea that I had thought of just from this one music video. and she loved it. So I happened to actually be taking an intro to creative writing class at the time, and one of our first homework assignments was to turn in the first chapter of a book idea we had, a short story or a poem or anything we wanted. So I wrote the first chapter of this book idea that I'd gotten from a Taylor Swift Love Story music video. And I turned it in, and my teacher and classmates all loved it. They said they needed to know what was going to happen next. They said that they were amazed, like they thought it was fantastic. And I had never shared my writing with anyone, so I had no idea how people were going to react. So seeing that people were being just so encouraging made me want to give it a shot. So I ended up finishing that book actually by the end of my junior year of college. So that's how my first book came about.
Awesome. Okay, the next question is, what are you reading right now?
Oh gosh, what am I reading right now?
Well, what was the last book you read? Either or.
Right. Okay. So I just read a book that Lorie told me I needed to write, and it's actually great. I think a number of us, actually all of us, every one of us who's writing today on this Google chat could benefit from it. It's called Attached, and it's by
Levine.
Levine. And so basically what he's done is he's taken a look at attachment theory of how babies attach with their moms, okay, or their caregiver, and basically has mapped that to the way people attach to their love interest in adult life. And it's really profound. I was just like, you know what? I am going to be able to use this in so many ways in my next couple novels. So, yeah. So I thought that was a profound book.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
just finished. And she actually finished before I finished. But I just this morning started Evil Librarian, which is hilarious.
That's good. It's a good one.
Oh, I was going to pass it to her. So that's great. And the latest Malcolm Gladwell is what's on my next to read list, which was David and Goliath.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep having all these people see me and they give me the entire synopsis, and I'm like, I've heard this. Okay. Yeah.
But I just read a manuscript. It's going to be published in July with Arthur Levine, who edited Harry Potter. This book is going to be the bestseller. It is transcendent. It is gorgeous and lyrical, and it's called The Game of Love and Death by Martha Brockenbrough. You better mark your calendar for July because you are going to want to get this book. It is so phenomenal.
And Jessica, you'll want to have her on for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Have her email me. Send her my way.
And the cover is drop dead gorgeous. Graphic, really cool.
Yeah, and Arthur Levine himself. Okay, so this is the guy who edited Harry Potter, right? He said that this book, The Game of Love and Death, is the reason why he got into publishing in the first place.
That's profound, right?
I know. Look at Jessica's face. Ooh. Yeah.
We're done.
Lindsay.
I just finished reading, and I have it with me because I'm sitting by my bed table. Nil Unlocked by Lynn Matson, which is cool to Nil.
I have book one. I met her last year, so I have a signed copy of book one. I need that.
This was like 10 times better than book one, so I was really happy with it. And then I also just started A Cold Legacy by Megan Shepherd, which is the third book in the Madman's Daughter trilogy, I guess is what the overall.
That's right.
And it's so good. That's one of my most favorite. It's like YA Gothic, Gothic horror. So good. I think Cold Legacy comes out in January. But yeah. Oh, did she have it?
I have book 3. I have it.
Yay.
Madeline?
Okay, so Mary and I were just at an event called Teen 14, which brings together a whole bunch of Virginia writers. So my to-be-read pile is all Virginia writers who are at that event. So and I have them too. So here's Tiffany Trent's book.
Oh, Tiffany Trent, we love Tiffany.
Yes. Virginia, Erica Orloff in Dreams, in keeping with our dream theory. And then this book, Sway, by Cat Spears, that just came out.
Whoa. Look at the cover.
It is. Isn't that beautiful cover? So, yay, Virginia, YA.
Woo!
Mary?
Oh, I also have at least 2 of those books and a different one from that event. So I was coming home heavier than when I left. But I don't have them with me because. But what I just read Rainbow Rowell's Attachments, and that was fun. I really enjoy her writing. I love her voice. Very, very strong stuff. And the next thing on my to be read pile is where our like Mike Madeline said, Tiffany's book. Only I realized I need to get the Unnaturals, Tiffany's, the first book of the series. So now I'm kind of like, I'm not reading book 2 until I get to book 1. So, yep, same stuff.
Michelle?
All right. The recent book that I finished and loved was Sinner by Maggie Stiefvater, and I totally never pronounce her last name. It's the 4th book in the Woods of Mercy Falls series, and I loved it because it's about Cole and Isabel, and Isabel has always been my absolute favorite character in that series. Like, I love her. I find her kind of relatable, which take what you will from that, but it's a great book. And next on my to read list is the final book in the House of Night series. This, I think it's like book number 12 in this series. It's the final.
It's number 15.
No, there's 12. It's ending, or maybe there's 15. I don't know, but I've read them all, and I love them. I mean, they're kind of like a guilty pleasure read. Like, they have their ups and downs, but I'm addicted to them. So I can't wait to see how the entire series ends finally.
I have all of those. They're over there. Okay, what is the next book that you are going to write or are working on right now? Whatever you can share with us. Justina?
So I have a concept for a matchmaker. So a girl whose mom, she's actually a 3rd-generation matchmaker, and using that trope as a way of figuring out what true love really means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aside from Secondborn, what's already done and actually being marketed right now is called Dark Doorways, and it is about my first year of marriage in Korea. Actually, the protagonist aged down to about 15 in South Korea, and so she's living with in a building that's half full of missionaries and half full of prostitutes. And so I just really wanted to bring light to what's going on there and share that. So I'm looking to place that right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Wow.
Yeah.
My next one, all I can say is that it's another YA series, and that's it. I'm also working on the 3rd Balance Keepers book. I already finished the 2nd one, and I already finished the sequel to The Murder Complex. So yeah, new YA, and that's all I can say.
Wow.
So I always work on more than one project at once, and right now I'm working on 2 middle grades. One is the sequel to Nanny X, which doesn't have a title yet, but it'll be Nanny X Returns or something like that. And then I'm also co-writing a middle grade with my friend Wendy Shang. I don't think I'm ready to say anything about what that's.
Mary?
Yeah, I'm wondering how much I should say. I'm working on a YA that it's kind of a depressing story, a kind of a desperate, serious contemporary, I guess I would say, where a lot of bad things happen and hopefully some good comes at the end. But I haven't written the end yet, so I'm still in the depressing part. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's a pretty heavy book, and I have an idea I really want to get into of a much lighter kind of sparkly book that's just fun and funny and a romantic comedy kind of thing. Yeah. But I got to get through this one first. So.
I am currently working on Diamonds Are Forever, which is the final book in the Secret Diamond Sisters trilogy. It comes out next year, so it comes out October 27th, 2015. I finished the first draft. I got my first round of edits, which to me is more like rewrites. My first round of edits tend to take a lot of rewriting. So, I mean, Diamonds in the Rough literally came out on Tuesday, so I feel like this past week has been my entire focus on this book here. But once I get back into focus mode on Monday, it's going to be on those rewrites. I'm about halfway done the rewrites for Diamonds Are Forever. So I work at one project at a time. Like, I don't switch around. I just like to start one project and finish it. So I'm going to finish that up. And then I have tons of other ideas for lots of other YA series to write in the future.
That's great.
Wow.
Okay, the next question is for Lindsay. How hard was it to do the world building for the Fires of Cauldron?
You know, strangely, the world building was actually the easiest part of writing that book, which is weird because in the murder complex, the world building was the hardest part. But I don't know, I think maybe just because I have always I was such a huge fan of Harry Potter, and I remember how alive Hogwarts was, that I was just so excited to be able to create my own type of fantastical school and kind of bring that to life. So that was actually the easiest part, which really, really shocked me.
The next one is for Lorie, and it's, why did you decide to make hits so small?
Oh, I wanted to make it reflect the moment, the speed actually of the actual hit itself. So when you start it, it has that trajectory or that force that makes you just fly through it, just like Sarah being hit. It was actually in verse at first, and I had to switch it over to prose. So that's the intention. Short, as if it's just happened to you and you just flew through this experience yourself.
And the next question is actually for Justina. Was it hard writing about characters that had suffered and are suffering losses in both the past and the present?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'd say to write about suffering, oh boy. You know, I think about what Lorie and I were talking about earlier, our Hit with Gratitude tour, where we're actually talking to high school students, to teachers, to librarians, to book clubs of adult women and, you know, their teen daughters. And I truly believe that as hard as the topics are to write about in terms of suffering, whether it's being born with a birthmark on your face, whether it's watching your dad lose his vision and go through such anger and feeling regret in his life because he didn't live his dream, you know, or in Return to Me, where the dad cheats and leaves the family. I just feel like part of our job as authors, at least for me, it's to shepherd girls to womanhood safely. And there's a lot that they need to learn about being women, and a lot of that is meeting the suffering, the hardships, head on, eyes wide open, knowing you're going to get through it because you have the strength, you have good friends, you know, to walk with you side by side, and to become better, not bitter. And I just remember looking out at the audience at this one school. I mean, there are hundreds of kids are there, and telling these girls and guys, look, you don't want to be Eeyore in life, right? You don't want to be the one who's always looking at the problems in your life and complaining about them. You get to choose. So choose to be better. Choose to be better. Yeah. Good question, whoever asked that.
That was an awesome answer.
Well, you know, see, I think, you know, I've been marveling at you. You said earlier that you have chronic fatigue syndrome. You were probably the most prolific, hard-working chronic fatigue syndrome person I think I have ever met. I mean, I don't know how you do it. It's great.
Thank you.
And if you two haven't read The Murder Complex, everybody, if you haven't read it, you need to. Put it on your list.
Today.
The next question is, how did you pick your covers? Was it the first cover? Did you go through a few of them? Justina?
Okay, I have probably the most fantastic art direction team at my publishing house, which is Little Brown, and I'm just very fortunate. The art director always reads my books, my manuscripts. They get the heart of the story, and then they craft these great covers. So and I'm just very lucky because they actually send me the rough cuts of the cover, and they actually ask for my opinion, whether I like the font, whether I like the models that were chosen, etc. So I feel very, very, very fortunate, but I feel like I'm in great hands.
She thinks that she has the best team, but I think I have the best team.
I don't know.
So they surprised me. I mean, look at Firstborn, right? That's amazing.
I love that cover.
Yeah. So I've just been super happy. I haven't really asked for changes. I've just been blown away. My brother works in, he has his own ad agency, and he works for Coke and Ford, and when he saw them, he's like, oh, these are amazing. So
very hot.
So I've just been happy. Blink has an awesome team.
Oh, my turn. I was like, aw. For the murder complex, they just kind of showed it to me, and luckily they picked a girl that looks just like Meadow. And for the death code, which is pretty cool, the guy looks exactly like Zephyr, so I was really happy with those. It was a little different with Balance Keepers. A lot of times with middle grade, it is like illustrated stuff, and so they kind of showed me a portfolio a few months before the cover was chosen, and I got to kind of pick out who my favorite artist was. And then he did like a black and white rendering, and I got to see that sketch and kind of give some feedback on it. And we went through like, there's probably like 6 different rounds of this, and then it finally came into color, and I was just blown away because it's, you know, a scene that he drew right out of the book. So that was pretty cool. So I'm happy with it. Very lucky.
I like your covers.
So I'll hold up. Can you see? Where's it on screen? So this is the cover for Dream Boy, which we adore. And they had asked us in the beginning. They said, "What do you see, you know, on the cover?" And a bottle tree is important in the story. So we said, "Well, we see, you know, this tree, and I don't know, maybe the back of someone's head." Or we threw a bunch of ideas out. And then they sent us this, and they were like, "What do you think?" And what we thought was, "Oh my God, we're so lucky, we're so lucky, we're so lucky."
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah, we were really, really fortunate. So, and I was ready. I'd heard all the horror stories. You know, you will have no input on your cover. Don't even ask. Don't even, you know, just say yes, thank you when they send it to you. But they wanted some input. And I was thrilled that they asked, and then actually did something we suggested, which was, or kind of, but better, like much better than what we had suggested. So yeah, it was really.
Well, I love that all these covers, that like the titles aren't just on there, that it's like, you know, integral part of the cover. You know, like you guys have the vines on there, and Justina's has, you know, the different colors and the circles and everything. It's not just sitting on there as just a title. It's integrated into it. Makes it nicer.
Yeah. Yep.
I love my covers. I think they're gorgeous, and that they like totally get across the entire like feeling of the book. And you know, the publisher does have final say, and they choose the covers. But at Harlequin, they asked me a little bit of details about all the characters. They asked me what the characters looked like. They asked me for like celebrity lookalikes to have them understand better, and they asked me about important symbols that are in the book. So I said the Las Vegas Strip is a huge important symbol, and then they came to me with this like, you know, the Las Vegas Strip is on here, the girl's face on here, like she looks just like my character, it's all shiny like I imagine. So I remember the day that they first sent me what all 3 are going to look like, and I promise you the 3rd one's going to be gorgeous as well. And when I got in my inbox, I literally sat there and stared at my covers all night, just like knowing over a year these will be on the bookshelves. And it was so mind-blowing. Like I was just in awe. Like it was surreal, and it was so cool when I first saw them.
I love you got yours sideways. They look so cool.
Yeah, they're so pretty. I feel like they really, like, the spines really stand out, and again, it's just that fun feeling, and like the little diamonds are thrown in there. So I love them. I could not like be happier with my covers. They're perfect, and the design team at Harlequin's amazing for being able to create them.
The next question is, was there anything really weird you had to research for your books or somewhere you had to travel to?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This is my favorite question. Okay, so you remember in Blind Spot for Boys, her dad's a pest control guy. So I went out with a ton of pest control experts and did you know that there are bed bug sniffing dogs? So I had to have a bed bug sniffing dogs. And then these guys, they relished in freaking me out. They're like, do you want to see the bed bugs? And they whipped out the vials. You guys, bed bugs are not microscopic. You can see them! You can see them! And then,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and then I actually did go to Machu Picchu, and that figures prominently in A Blind Spot for Boys. And it's this epic trek that she takes with her father who's going blind, right? And he, by force of will, makes it through this trail. And I just remember standing, looking at Machu Picchu, and you're looking at this rubble. I mean, it's really rubble. And you think to yourself, my gosh, it is so breathtaking. And for me, that was such a good metaphor of life. You could be standing in such sorrow or suffering, and yet, amidst that rubble, there's like this unbelievable beauty. And that's something I just wanted to communicate to my readers. I'm going to start to cry.
For mine, because they're so heavily based on what I've lived and experienced, I've already walked that road. So I was in the hospital with Sarah after 3 days. Firstborn was because it's a fantasy, I had a much higher level of research. And that really centered around gendercide and reading about gendercide and realizing that people were still annihilating girls because they were preferring boys, that was happening worldwide was just heartbreaking. And so to read more and more about that, like the UN says 200 million girls are missing because of killing them, you know, at birth or prior to birth. So that's probably the biggest, deepest research that I've done so far. Aside from learning how to skin a cougar and cure snakes urine. That's also in there too. I'm going to go to Tierra del Fuego if one of my future novels sells. Yeah. Yay! Yay! Oh, and just imagine traveling with this woman now when we go to a hotel. Can I just say, she's got to pull back the sheets and look for the bed bugs.
Exactly. Sorry.
Lindsay?
I do that too, so don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Research-wise, not really. The murder complex is set in Florida by the beach, so I grew up going there all the time, and so that was just kind of life. And then for Balance Keepers, I wish I could have traveled to the core of the earth, but it's not possible. So,
just watch the movie.
Yeah, right. A lot of that was just, you know, imagination and kind of what would it be like if it was like a steampunk place in the middle of Earth? I don't know. It was just kind of fun to imagine it all. So no, not a lot of research. It's boring to me. I don't like to research.
If there was some place that you could go for a future novel, where would you want to go?
Oh gosh. The future.
The future? You're gonna go big. Madeline?
So the book I did the most research on was Canary in the Coal Mine, which is a middle grade novel, and it's historical fiction. So for that one, I did a lot of research on, you know, coal mining. I did a lot of interviews. I spent a lot of time in West Virginia. For Dream Boy, I think the most research we did was just on dreams and dream interpretation. Now, I looked at a lot of modern books. Mary just recently pulled out this old book from, what year was it, Mary?
1940.
From the 1940s on dream interpretation. So I'll let her tell you.
Oh, that's so cool.
That was actually a book I had many years before I ever thought to write Dream Boy, because I've always been obsessed with the idea of dreams and the idea of also people like looking at things like dreams and trying to tell the future, or looking at anything, tea leaves or palms or whatever. I've always been kind of obsessed with that. So yeah, that kind of worked right into one of my sweet spots. But I did for Dream Boy, I spent a lot of time online looking at t-shirt sites, places where they sell t-shirts, because one of our characters, Will, always has these like spunky t-shirts that have slogans on them that are a little bit quirky or whatever. So, you know, I was kind of shopping for Will a lot during the writing.
Michelle?
I mentioned how I have been to Las Vegas pretty much every year since I was 15. For a family event thing. And the year that I was outlining The Secret Diamond Sisters, my best friend came along with me for research, which meant basically walking around Las Vegas, eating at awesome restaurants, like going to some of the clubs, walking around the hotels, and getting ideas for where all the scenes in this book are going to take place. So there's a whole club that I designed that's in the book, that I took one of the clubs that's actually in the hotel that inspired my books, and I made it like 10 times better. So I wish this club actually existed, because it's way cool. It would be so fun to do. And a lot of the restaurants are real. They go to the Venetian Hotel, and they go on a romantic gondola ride at one point, like one of the girls and one of her love interests. And then they go into the Paris Hotel at one point, and there's this gorgeous wishing fountain in the Paris Hotel. And when I was there with my best friend, I took out a penny and I threw it into the fountain, and I made a wish. That wish was that this book series that I was writing would get published someday. And in my book, the girl throws a euro in the fountain, actually, and she makes a wish. I'm not going to say what that wish is, but hopefully it'll come true.
Okay, the next question was actually just emailed to me, and it is about spoilers. For those of you who have, or not spoilers, cliffhangers, for those of you who are doing series. So, Justina, Lorie, your books aren't series. Yours are standalones, right?
Right.
Okay, so Lindsay. The murder complex cliffhanger killed me. Kill. Dead.
That's I remember that the Hunger Games did that to me with cliffhanger-y type endings, and I wanted to get my revenge by writing my own someday. So.
So does The Fires of the Balance Keepers, does that have a cliffhanger ending?
You could say that. It has an cliffhanger-y. So yeah, I think I just love cliffhangers. I think I like to make readers kind of like, what the heck? So I think I'll probably always do them. Sorry.
And Dream Boy is a standalone as well, correct?
Yeah.
Or is it okay, so then Michelle, your books, are they
The Secret Diamond
cliffhanger-y?
The Secret Diamond Sisters doesn't have a big cliffhanger, but Diamonds in the Rough, book 2, ends with a pretty big cliffhanger. I mean, the book just came out on Tuesday. I've had people tweeting at me like, why did you do that to me? Like, how am I supposed to wait now? Like, and they called me evil and mean to my characters. But I thought it was a pretty fun way to, well, it wasn't fun. It's sad. But there's definitely a cliffhanger there. So obviously I can't give spoilers, but it's interesting seeing people's reactions to that for sure.
Isn't it fun?
I love like secretly knowing like what's gonna happen and not being able to tell anyone and just watching their reactions like evilly from the side.
Yeah. I get that for just writing open-ended books. I get dinged. I want you to finish the story. I want you to have a choice, because I didn't want to be boxed in when I was a teen. So I give that as a gift. It's not to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
The next question is, do you read your reviews?
Oh.
No. I used to read my reviews. I used to read them, but you know, I just don't find them particularly healthy, either the glowing ones or the ones that are not so glowy. I find that to improve my writing, it's better to have an editorial letter from my editor, or to get feedback from an agent or for trusted readers. And so I'm not really sure what the value of reading a review is these days. For me personally.
For me, I read them all, so please be nice. This can be like 2 to 10 years of my life that I've worked, so please. Yeah, I just, I do pull things out if I hear it over and over again, you know, and it gives me something to think about and some encouragement. You know, I can scan down and read the 5 stars if it's that kind of day. So yeah, I do.
I made the mistake of reading them like when arcs first went out of each book, and now I don't read positive or negative because I feel like it's just not healthy for me. As a, you know, I'm just kind of, I don't know, I don't really think it matters to me as much anymore because I am and my writing is going to be what it is, and people are either going to love you or hate you for what you put out there, and I kind of just don't want to care about opinions anymore because it's hard. They're opinions. Everyone's is going to be different. So, yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay.
Yeah.
Just not for me to read them.
Right.
Yeah, I think a part of what's happened is, you know, reviews used to be reviews, and I think now a lot of the reviews are people talking about your book. And one of the things about the internet is you can hear everybody. You can hear what they're saying about you, and you know, everybody keeps using the word healthy, and I totally agree. Like for me, it is just not healthy to go there. As you know, I know it's good for me. I will sometimes like maniacally Google just to make sure that there are reviews out there, and then once I get there, I won't even look at them. And Mary thinks I'm even insane. Like I've actually gotten an email from our editor that had a review in it, and I didn't even pan down the email because I'm just like I can't.
Wow.
Yeah, for me it's kind of exciting because, again, coming from poetry where it's like total crickets. I mean, you didn't when we publish these books, you like, I spent 10 years writing this, here you go world, and they're like,
Exactly.
hello, anything, you know, nothing. So to have like actually people like reading your book before it even comes out, I was like, what world is this I have come into? Young adult fiction, wow, you know. So for me, it was really exciting to see reviews, and even the bad ones, I was like, yeah, whatever, you know. I mean, you know, I've read books I don't like before either, you know. So what? But sometimes it does hurt, especially like when I'm already low. You know, like I'm kind of like if I'm having a bad day, I should not be going on Goodreads. That's just like what, you know.
Right. You're not going Goodreads.
Twisted some, you know, because they, you know, there's this whole idea of, you know, oh, it's not you, it's your book. But when you've spent all this time writing this book and living with these characters and caring about this book, yeah, it's not you, but it's something you love. It's something you care about, and something you really worked on to try to, you know, share something positive with people. And it hurts when, like, you know, with Lorie, it can hurt when. So I've gotten to the point where I don't look at it so much. You know, I kind of try to tune it out a little bit because, good or bad, I really need to be focused on other things. It's not a good use of my time.
I read my reviews. I know I shouldn't. You know, you all say it's not healthy too, and I completely agree, but it's addicting at the same time, I feel like I need to read them. Like, of course, I say nothing to anyone who reviews it. I just kind of read through them, but I love seeing the positive reviews. I find it so encouraging to know that people are taking the time just to write a review because they loved my book. So I think that it's worth it to read the positive reviews, to go through some of the negative reviews, and, you know, I do try to separate. Like, that is my book, not me that they're critiquing. So I'm able to kind of separate that in my mind and not get personally offended by someone not liking my book. And, you know, if someone leaves a bad review, like, okay, they don't like my book. That's their problem. Like, yeah. I love reading the good things that people have to say, and I find it super encouraging. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say on that. But I probably shouldn't read them, but I do.
I do.
But one more thing. I think Beth Kephart, if you haven't read her, you read her work. but she's also a New York Times book reviewer, and she's a National Book Award winning novelist. And she wrote this really thoughtful essay about writing book reviews. And a really good book review is thought-provoking, as thought-provoking as the work itself. The problem is, in today's Goodreads world, a lot of times it's mean-spirited. Yeah. And that's not the original intent of a book review. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So find her essay and read it, because I think if everybody wrote book reviews with that spirit of actually creating a dialogue based on the book itself, then I think book reviews would be fantastic to read about, you know? But they're not always that way.
Instead of a personal assault where they question whether you should live.
Right.
That's
right. I'm not upset about a review. I just like look at a book that I loved and I read all the mean reviews that people have written for that, and I'm just like, you know, there's going to be varying opinions.
That's what I do too.
So, look at Harry Potter and you'll find negative reviews. Like you'll it doesn't exist. So it's not just you.
At the same time, it's so helpful that people take the time to review, because it really matters, right?
It matters.
It matters in enormous amounts. So thanks for doing that.
But what I will read are every single letter, email, Facebook message from a reader. I will only take the time to write back to them. You know, I figure if C.S. Lewis could write back to every single person who wrote to him, surely I, Justina Chen, can do the same thing.
Well, you guys will know when I do reviews and stuff, because it automatically has your Twitter information on there where it alerts you that I've done something. But it really is, especially because I just finished, No One Else Can Have You, and she was like the author that went and stalked somebody and stuff, and now her book has nothing but 1-star reviews, like the whole entire thing. Even the one that isn't even out yet until next year, it all has 1-star reviews. That is not a review of the book. That is a review of the author. I don't review authors. I review books. I like the book. You know, it was an awesome book. Do I like the author? I don't care. I don't have to like you to like your book. I don't care. You know, I mean, unless you were like a mass murderer or something like that, then I'll think about it, you know, but...
That's a really good point.
One of the greatest things about, you know, the jump into YA for me was seeing the passion of the readers.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of the best readers.
The most passionate.
The next question is, how do you celebrate your book release? Is it something crazy, or do you just open a bottle of wine?
Okay, I like throwing parties. And so, you know, my book parties, I do have book parties, and I usually do have a fabulous cocktail drink that is based on the book, you know, and little trinkets that are based on the book. But I think, I feel like, though, it's almost like having your 10th baby. Do you keep inviting people to baby showers? Sorry, I'm making it much more low-key these days. So we're actually going to have a joint party. It's a pop-in party with a pop-up bookstore. Yeah. And I think that's, you know, so people can just drop in, grab a little cupcake,
and tootle on. For me, I'm kind of like Lindsay. I have rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and a couple other autoimmune diseases. So it depends on the timing of when my book launches. Hopefully I'm not, you know, in that 8-month in-home period. And then my friends do rally, and they're like, we need to celebrate this at whatever level, according, you know, scale of 1 to 10, where are you today? You know, what can we do? And so they just kind of hold me up, and they're really sweet. So doing a launch with Justina is fantastic.
Yeah, we just perched her on a stool.
Yep.
Wheel her in through with a wheelchair, and she can just sit there. Just decorate yourself with some books or something.
Exactly. Smile and look pretty. That's all you need to do.
Sweet.
That's awesome. I like to do just like the typical book launch party. I always do it at the same Barnes & Noble. My whole family comes in their embarrassing T-shirts. And yeah, that's about it. I don't know. Barnes & Noble is my favorite place to be ever, so I just love to do a signing there and, you know, see my book on the shelf. That was my dream since I was a little girl, was to walk into that exact Barnes & Noble and see my book there.
Oh,
That's so cute.
It's so fun. So yeah, I look forward to doing that with every release, and hopefully I'll continue to do that.
I did a book release party for Canary in the Coal Mine when it came out, and then Mary and I did one for Dream Boy, and then for the others, mostly I go out for Indian food with my family. But, for the one I did with Mary, it was really fun. I went down to Southwest Virginia, which is where I'm from, and we both had a lot of friends. And you know, one of Mary's friends made dream dates to go, and they were actually little dates with
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
They were really good. So.
That was really sweet of them. But yeah, I have a friend who had a culinary edge, and she was actually my roommate for a while when I was in grad school, and she was always, we would alternate like having dinner night, and when it was my dinner night it was like spaghetti or something really easy, and she'd be like making, you know, maki or, you know, some kind of like elaborate dish. So she came out for the book party and brought plates of all these you know, kind of amazing foods with pun-like titles that she put out on them having to do with the book. Really sweet. But yeah, so I like to party. I like to have a good time, and I like to celebrate something that you work hard on with friends. So yeah, it was a good thing, and having Madeline there was really special. I don't know if, you know, as I go forth, it might, like you say, you know, do you have the shower for the 10th baby? This was really my first, so we had a big to do.
For the Secret Diamond Sisters, I had a huge party at this great bookstore in Miami called Books and Books. And
Yes, I love Books and Books.
They serve alcohol there. So we had like bottomless champagne for everyone at the book release. It was like we had a whole playlist of songs that reminded me of my book. And it was a great party. My family all came. My best friends all came. I met all my best friends in college, and they all kind of went across the country after we graduated. So we don't get to hang out all in a group together that much anymore. So they all came for my book release party, and we had so much fun. For Diamonds in the Rough, which actually, you know, it came out Tuesday, I had a big book release party in Baltimore, which is my hometown, and it was at the bookstore where I used to buy books when I was a little kid. So it was great to be at that same exact bookstore and be able to celebrate my book release. And I'm having a book release party tomorrow for Diamonds in the Rough. If anyone lives near Boca Raton, Florida, it's going to be at the Boca Raton Glades Road Barnes & Noble at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So come by, get Diamonds in the Rough signed and Secret Diamond Sisters, and we'll hang out.
That's really cool. One other thing that Justina and I are doing, you know, when the party happens, it's such a focus on us. So we're popping into bookstores all across the country, and we're giving coffee or a pastry,
Cupcakes.
just to thank them, and that's been awesome.
Yeah, just to
give back.
To give back, because it's, when you write a book, it's not about you. It stops being about you.
Yeah.
And all these booksellers,
They're working so hard.
they work so hard. They don't make much money. These people don't really make much money, and so it's been so fun to go in and just be like, cupcakes!
Especially the indie stores.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay, well, that is going to be our last question today because we only have like 5 minutes left. So now you can do a shout out to whoever you want.
Oh, my God.
Oh, goodness. I would give a shout out to the readergirlz. So the readergirlz, it's this, we co-founded this group. It's a nonprofit organization. It's all about getting girls to read, to reflect on what they've read, to reach out and do community service. Yeah. And so there are 10 authors, including Melissa Walker, Janet Lee Carey, I mean, amazing award-winning authors. And we're all about celebrating people like all of the guests here today.
Yeah, all of your books.
All of your books.
Yeah. So we'll be running to share the news about your books for sure.
Absolutely.
So shout out to readergirlz around the world.
Yay.
I will give a shout out to the YA Valentines. They're my 2014 debut author group. Just really supportive people, really fun, and I went on tour with some of them this past summer, and I think we possibly will be doing that again next year, but just go check everybody out. They're awesome.
I am always afraid to give shout-outs because I'm afraid I'm going to leave somebody out. So, bloggers, librarians, my kids' soccer team, because I think they're safe in there. We didn't win today. Probably the championship game, but they're a really great group of kids. And then also the people who let me come use the back room of this house. I'm actually at a Halloween party. And I was like, well, I could be at the party if I can have a back room and a computer. So in a minute, I put on my costume. I'm spaghetti.
Oh my gosh!
I love it.
Well, writing acknowledgments with Madeline was pretty funny for this very reason. She kept trying to like take people out. She's like, but what if we forget one of the, I'm like, but we got four of the people. If we forget somebody, they'll forgive us. They'll be okay. But it's the same kind of thing. That's funny that you're still being very low key about it. So I guess I'd give a shout out to 1-4 Lit, which has been a really important group for me for the debut group. Just a lot of kind of frank conversation about what the heck's going on, because this is kind of a brave new venture for me. And then the Bookyard is a smaller group of debut writers, and actually we're opening it up to writers of all sorts of YA Lit that kind of blog together and give each other support. And I'd also like to send kisses to my little ones. You guys, I don't want to name them because I don't know, their names out there. Crazy stuff goes on, but you guys know who you are. And love you.
I, of course, want to shout out to my street team. I have this great group of people who have joined my street team to help support my books. I love you guys. You rock. They've just been there through every part of my whole journey with publishing, and they just always want to help, and they love getting their inside information before everyone gets it. They all got acknowledgments at the end of the Diamonds in the Rough series. So, I interact with them as much as I possibly can. I have a group. You can join the street team. Go to michellemaddow.com. Go in my sidebar. There's going to be a button. So, anyone's welcome. So, yeah, I love my street team. You guys rock.
That's great.
Okay, and to finish up, do you guys have any questions for your readers? Who has any questions for their readers? Read my book!
Yeah, would you?
Would you read my review?
Write a sweet review, exactly. That's actually probably the best thing as authors, that we can ask our readers actually a favor, which is after you've read our books, and if you like our books, please, please, please post a review. Would you please post a review on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, because it does impact the algorithm.
Yeah, it does.
And it helps the author. That is probably the sweetest, kindest act of service they can do for us, and we just appreciate that so very much.
And find us on Facebook. That's really helpful, actually. And like us.
Yeah, I would, same thing.
And follow on Twitter and Instagram. Do you follow me on Twitter and Instagram? Because if not, follow. Because I try to talk to everyone. If you tweet at me, I'll reply to you. If you write me a question on Instagram, I'll reply back to you as well. So, readers, interact with us. I like talking. So.
And I would say too, so when you're reading, this is just a question to ask yourself when you're reading, is, and somebody had said earlier, I think it was Justina, but I'm not sure, is, there are things that you bring to books when you read them. Oh no, it was just about the ending of books, but there are things that you bring to a book when you read. So I guess my question for you would be, when you're reading a book, to think about what am I bringing to this book? Like, what's my part in it?
Right.
Right. Ladies, thank you so much for coming on. Lindsay, thank you. Well, Lindsay and Lorie, thank you for coming back on because you've been on before.
Absolutely.
And I hope you guys come back, especially for definitely for the Murder Complex Part 2. Yes, come.
Yeah.
Maybe by that time I will have won the lottery, and then I'll just fly everybody in, and we'll just meet.
Oh.
Turn into a convention or something.
Thank you,
Right.
Jessica.
Nationwide.
Fun
Thank
time.
you so much for coming on.
Bye.
Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Wait for everybody to pop off of here.
I have no idea how to use this.
If you go to the top part of it, it'll have like a little red telephone.
Where?
Right at the top.
Oh my god, I'm like.
Or you can just close out of the window. That works too.
Okay. Bye. Is that gonna work?
Well, thank all of those ladies for coming on. If you don't happen to snag a copy from the show, you can actually check out my website and you can attempt to snag one via the review, which will come up in a few weeks here. Definitely check in next week. We are going to be having Rainier Garber. She is the author of I think it's released already, Zodiac, or it is upcoming. Sarah B. Larson for Defy, which was amazing. Rebecca Surley for The Edge of Falling, as well as Lorie M. Lee. She is a new author, Gates of Thread and Stone, as well as Rachel M. Wilson of Don't Touch. So definitely tune in next week, and I will catch everybody later. Bye.